Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, gamers, geezers, geeks. It's fast food films. And our fast food film fanatic, who's a complete fiend when it comes to feeding on food that's fast, it's Keith. Say hello, Keith.
Not anymore. I'm not. My wife won't make me go near it. Hello. Yes, we've got probably the fastest, most fast food movie of all time. I think it's certainly a contender. This one, certainly is a contender.
This week,
do you want to do the intro?
I'm going to do the intro. I always do the intro, and then I'll let you go and run with it. So this week we'll be talking about the 1997 film starring Nicolas Cage, Con Air. A newly paroled ex-con and his former US Ranger Cameron Poe finds himself trapped on a prisoner transport plane when the plane is seized by the other prisoners.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, this one was suggested by your brothers. Where are they?
Where are they?
This was suggested by your brothers. And I watched it again recently, like yesterday. And oh my god, is it a fast food film? Seriously, the ending to this film is so fucking cheesy. I think it could
supply hang on a second.
Cheesecake Factory
hold on
for a year.
There's the ending, and then there's the other ending that they tacked on towards the end, which was just like, you go.
Yeah. You've got the bit where it's kind of like it ends a bit, where they're in the sort of like we've got police and everything. It feels a bit like Die Hard, and then you see the sneaky, dastardly John Malkovich character on the back of a fire truck, and that's sort of down again, and that whole last 8 minutes is a bit lame. But you kind of have to downgrade your brain to about 4 gig of RAM to watch this because. Seriously, if you think too much on this one, you aren't going to enjoy it. But if you don't think, it's actually a pretty good film. I mean, it is Nicolas Cage at his most Nicolas Cage-like, doing a really bad Southern American accent from Alabama. I mean, it is really bad. He plays the character a bit dumb-like. But then, you have the real cheesy action shots with explosions behind him and him walking in, real typical Hollywood, stereotypical action figure kind of thing. But the interesting thing is that he did all his own stunts in this movie, and he apparently developed his own character, or was heavily involved in developing his own character. So it's definitely a fast food movie. This. Without a shadow of a doubt. Anyway, where do we start? Shall I lay down the usual of this film was made for $75 million. It had a budget. And it grossed at the worldwide box office, $246 million, which is okay, but not like Independence Day or even The Rock level kind of income, but it's not too bad. But I think it's kind of, since the cinema found its following a bit, because there are some hidden moments in this film that are brilliant. I mean, it's got some great quotes.
There's
a
I think we should just describe the film, because it's you're right, it's a weird one, because you've got Nicolas Cage's character Cameron Poe starts off at the beginning of the film, gets caught in a bar fight and accidentally kills someone. And because he was a soldier, he was considered a bit more responsible, so it wasn't that. It was considered worse than it probably would be for a normal kind of civvy. Then he gets sent to prison, and he's just about to get his ass out, and he's getting transported to be released, along with everybody else, including Cyrus the Virus, Pinball, played by Dave Chappelle.
I was going to come
Green,
to him.
A psychopath, played by Steve Buscemi, that they're all scared of. And then
some interesting stuff around his character as well, which we'll go into.
and then naturally the plane gets hijacked by Cyrus the Virus. They take it over. And they have a few hijinks as they're trying to get the whole thing sorted. And then you've got what's his mush? Who was in John Cusack? That's it. You got John Cusack who's playing Vince Larkin, and Vince Larkin is trying to chase down and apprehend the criminals, which is good and entertaining. And then the question is can Nicolas Cage stop the hijacking, get out of jail without imposing any more charges or anything like that, and save people? So yeah, it's a good film.
Well, he kills a couple of people, but they kind of deserve it. I mean, it's one of the great lines in it is when he's in the plane and he's downstairs. There's something lying around that basically says that he's about to be paroled, and he doesn't want all the crooks to believe that. And there's this one bad guy that finds this, and he's got the bunny and the letter. This bunny that Cameron Poe, by the way, Nicolas Cage has some fucking great names in all these movies. We had what was it? Stanley Goodspeed last week. Cameron Poe. They're just fucking awesome names. But anyway, Cameron says, "Put the bunny back in the box." He manages to deliver that line, and then the guy doesn't put the bunny back, and he can repeat it. Put the bunny back in the box. Doesn't put the bunny back in the box. So he kills the bloke, and then in true 007 fashion, he goes, "Should have put the bunny back in the box." It makes me giggle. Although then later on, John Malkovich, I wonder how many takes it took to deliver this one. But one of my favourite lines is, "Make a move," and the bunny gets it.
Hang on a second.
I can't even deliver that line.
Let's just watch the bunny scene.
You've been playing us all along. You a man. I said, put the bunny back in the box.
Terrible accent.
I'll leave it there. You have to watch the film.
It's quite a good action scene because they run at each other and yeah, I mean, obviously being the Nick Cage movie, spoiler, he doesn't die, and then he delivers the sort of cheesy line afterwards.
I do find it funny, but it's great. Doesn't he write a message on the guy's top and then drop him out of the plane onto the guy?
That was Dave Chappelle's character. That was Pinball, because they land and refuel the plane and get rid of the guards and take on a few more prisoners. And Pinball is left in a hangar, and then he realizes the plane's leaving without him because they've cottoned on that the crooks have taken over the plane, and he gets caught up in the wheel, and then they catch him. And at that point, yes, he gets dropped on Don S. Davis's car, who makes a cameo in this film, who was Stargate SG-1's General Hammond, who was, by all accounts, a really nice guy. And another one that died during making of a series. He died in the end of season 7, I think, because they then brought in Beau Bridges, didn't they, to replace him in Stargate SG-1.
Yes.
Yes. So, Dave Chappelle.
Hang on a second.
I love this.
Sorry.
Oh, boy. You see that? See? Every time I get a wax, I get 10 feet from the car wash and then pow, bird shit.
Well, it's supposed to be good luck.
Told my wife that. That's Dave Chappelle.
But if Dave Chappelle lands on your car, it's supposed to be good luck.
Nice.
I love the way you went overboard with that. He just had to.
Oh, totally. Everything in this movie's overboard. Apparently, Dave Chappelle weighs a few pounds. Interesting fact about Dave Chappelle is that he ad-libbed almost all of his lines in this film. That he didn't have a script per se. That most of his lines are ad-libbed, which just goes. So I love Dave Chappelle. I am a Dave Chappelle fan. His recent Netflix special was amazing, and I love the fact that so many people are bitching and moaning about it because it's so non-PC. It's brilliant. And if you want an interesting take on, I'm not going to go into this much, but with current events, he's recently done a 22-minute stand-up on YouTube. Well worth a watch. He really does put these fucking idiot white celebrities in their place, and it's brilliant. He puts everybody. He puts them in their place, but it's fantastic. In a way only Dave Chappelle can do, and it's well worth a watch. But anyway, we're not going to go into that. But yes, so shall I lay some facts on you about this film? Because I've got one here. Do you know who this was directed by?
Oh, crikey. It wasn't Michael Bay.
No, it was directed by a guy called Simon West. Right? Now, Simon West has one other thing in his this was his first movie, but before that, he used to direct music videos. Want to guess what he directed?
Oh, you're kidding. Never going to give you up.
I am absolutely not joking. And Gareth, just for you.
But it was true, though, wasn't it?
It is absolutely true. He directed Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give It Up music video. This is absolutely true. Which, when I found that fact, I was like, I get to rickroll Gareth.
Oh dear.
But it's absolutely true. He directed a few other things. It's interesting. He also directed Expendables 2, which I love the Expendables series. I know we're going to have to do one of the Expendables movies at one point because it is a fast food movie, but I love them. He also directed the original first Tomb Raider movie.
Did he do the first Tomb Raider movie?
He did. And he did something else that you might remember. Before getting into movies, he also did adverts. And one of them was the Budweiser frogs. Yes.
Oh, dear.
The Budweiser frogs. Do you remember? Budweiser.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be the one. When you said
no,
Budweiser.
It wasn't that one.
That's the first Budweiser advert I
after.
reached for, I'll be honest with you.
They were the more successful ones, and they were after the frogs ones, but there was a few frog ones, and he did. I think he did the first or the second frog one as well. His real fame is Never Gonna Give It Up, which I just love. I love the fact that he directed that. Thing is, right, Rick Astley's made a bit of a comeback recently, and he was certainly last year. He was doing a lot of talk shows and stuff. He's quite a nice bloke, Rick Astley. And
the reason he gave it up was he's a normie.
Yeah, but he's back again, and his last album was pretty good. Did quite well. But yes, I know you're right. He is a normie, but he comes across that way as well. He's not too full of himself, which I love. Yes, so we've gone through sort of most of my funny quotes. I still love John Malkovich's, make a move, and the bunny gets it. I love that line. But I've got a few other facts for you. So, Cusack, who was in this, John Cusack, hates this film. Did you know that? Really cannot stand this film, and has admitted on more than one occasion that he was just there to collect a paycheck. Really doesn't like this film, and apparently Malkovich has never said he hates the film, but he wasn't altogether very happy on set because they kept changing the script literally every day. And he's been quoted as saying he didn't know how his character was going to turn out. I mean, don't get me wrong, John Malkovich, he hammed this pretty well, but I like John Malkovich, and he's Again, he's got some lines in that movie that only John Malkovich can deliver, and I think he's pretty good as the bad guy. Interesting in the sort of second ending to this film. You know how he ends up on that sort of like conveyor belt, and he falls off the conveyor belt, and then ends up under again in true sort of Hammy style, he ends up with one of those compressors. If you look at how when the body comes over the conveyor belt, it's basically completely reversed on how it falls down, and he's like face down. But then the next scene is him lying with his head just like, but by the way, he's there for at least 10 to 15 seconds while this thing is like, trotted up before it drops on his face. Why didn't he just like, move his head? But no, he gets his head literally caved in by the very conveniently pressed sort of crusher thing. So yes, that's John Malkovich's stuff. You mentioned Steve Buscemi, another actor who I really, really like. Steve Buscemi's character is a homage to Hannibal. It has to be. I mean, the guy when you first see him turning up, he has that fucking mask on and everything. He's a bit nuts. You get the scene with the little girl, and then at the end he escapes. And I'm sure that was kind of like a hidden sort of nod towards Hannibal Lecter. I couldn't find anything to say whether that's true or not, but it certainly bloody well feels like it. So that scene at the end when he's in the casino and he's getting lucky, and there's slightly sinister music playing, very much like Hannibal getting away at the end of Science.
It wasn't slightly sinister music. It was Sweet Home Alabama, if I remember correctly.
No, Sweet Home Alabama kicks in after that, and the reason that because Sweet Home Alabama is used twice, which I was going to come on to, because there's another reason why I think you like this movie, because you bloody like Sweet Home Alabama, which is an awesome track.
It's because it's a personal thing. It's a load of us got drunk and watched that film. And that tune just kind of stuck, and it was just a reminder of that really good day that we all had together.
I love Sweet Home Alabama. We played it a lot. We were playing it a lot as well. But interestingly, when they win the plane, Sweet Home Alabama is playing in the background, and Steve Buscemi's character says, "Define irony: a bunch of idiots dancing around on a plane to a song made while famous by a band that died in a plane crash," which is a very good line, and unfortunately very, very true. Leonard Skinner, several members of Leonard Skinner who were died on the plane crash on October the 20th, 1977. Which, but the line's quite a good one, and again delivered by Steve Buscemi, who I think is brilliant in this film. I love him. I love him in everything. It doesn't matter how bad the film is. I like Steve Buscemi. Did you know that Simon West wanted to make a sequel? And as I said, I alluded to earlier, it made money, but it didn't. It was kind of on the cusp of whether you wanted to make a sequel or not. Now, I don't know how tongue the cheek Simon West was being when he was asked this question, but he wanted to make a sequel. And the sequel was going to be set in space. Yep. That's what he responded with. He said he wanted Con Air in space.
Isn't that film with Mike Pierce? That Fortress kind of one? That was like a rip-off of Escape from New York.
I don't think I've ever seen that, but this is what he responded.
That's about a load of prisoners trying to escape in space. Actually,
this is what he was. But interestingly, although John Cusack said he's hated the film, he's also agreed to return to make a sequel. Again, blatantly collecting a paycheck, but John Cusack was pretty good in this film. Several people died making the film, including one guy in special effects, which is it's a shame. There is I believe, a tribute in the end credits to them as well. So yes, that was That was an interesting thing. Did you know that even though this is the most cheesy of cheesy bloody films, it was nominated for 2 Oscars?
Two Oscars.
It got nominated for 2 Oscars. It got nominated for Best Sound and Sound Mixing, and Best Original Song for the Leanne Rimes song at the end, which wasn't sung by her. It was a cover. It also got nominated for a Razzie for Worst Original Song. And it won a Razzie for this is what? Worst Reckless Disregard for Human Life and Public Property.
Okay.
Because part of the reason why it won a Razzie is the casino that you see the plane crashing into in Las Vegas was a real casino. And they really did trash it. And in actual fact, when the plane is crashing down the strip, I believe a good deal of that is practical effects. It's not like models. It was genuinely a plane racing down the strip.
I imagine it was the hull of a plane on some wheels racing down a strip. Yes. You know, that reminds me of. Remember, I don't know which of the Fast and the Furious films it was in because there's so bloody many of them. The one where they're dragging the bank vault behind them. Do you remember that one?
That I think is
Don't
the
worry
first
about what film it was.
Kind of
Do you remember
rebooted.
it?
Yes, of course I remember it. Yes, it was in Brazil. Yeah, Brazil.
Do you know that was a car?
What? The safe?
The safe was a car. It's a car with a safe on top of it. And the stunt driver had like the narrowest of narrow slits to look through as he was driving.
No, I did not know that. I did not know that. Interestingly, that was the movie that kind of rebooted the Fast and Furious franchise and kind of turned it into a more of a heist style movie thing. And I love the Fast and Furious movies. I can't wait for the next one. Again, I think that is that one is probably a contender for, funny enough, the fast food movies, because it arguably is what
it's practically McDonald's.
Fast and Furious.
When it comes to fast food films, it's practically McDonald's. It's that ubiquitous.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, you can do all of them, but that.
But let's get back to Con Air, because you had some fun bits in it where you had the fact that what was his name? John Cusack's character was sleeping with the head of department's wife, if I remember correctly, and they were going through a divorce. Do you remember that? And she was from Baywatch, if I remember too.
Yes, that is hinted at. But isn't there? And then there's
I was getting to a point, and the point is that he stole his car to drive to the airport, and then it snagged behind the plane, and they dragged it behind the plane, and that looked like a practical effect, but they were dragging a car there behind a plane, and that was quite bad.
That was Colin. What's his?
No, it wasn't Colin Meaney. It was another character, older fella.
No, the car belonged to Colin Meaney. That was his car.
So his car?
The car that gets dropped is Colin Meaney's character, because he plays like the head of the DEA, doesn't he? And he takes over and then tries to shoot down the thing, and him and Cusack kind of constantly sort of come up against each other. And there's a bit where they're both in Apache helicopters chasing down the plane over Vegas, and Colin Meaney's character is blowing the shit out of it, and Cusack's going, stop, because Cameron Poe is trying to attempt to take over the plane, and is in the cockpit, but Colin Meaney's character, because he's pissed off about his car. But yes, it's Colin Meaney's car that gets trashed, because John Cusack steals it to get to the airfield where they are meant to be landing to meet
Colombian
sort of
drug lords, which
Colombian narcos character. But again, brilliant fucking line there, because the Colombian narco, unbeknownst to them, has double crossed them, because Colombian narco, and has a jet hidden in one of the things, and he climbs aboard the jet, But unfortunately, he comes up against Cameron Poe, who's sort of like chains the plane down and everything, and basically manages to trash the plane. So unfortunately, the Colombian narco doesn't get away, and he's doused in petrol, and he walks up to Cyrus the Virus, and this is a brilliant line, and you can see Cyrus the Virus isn't altogether happy with him, and he tries to plead for his life, and he goes sigh like that, and Malkovich just turns around with a match, flicks it, and goes Anara. And this guy gets fucking brilliant, like. He's like, sigh, and there's John Malkovich cuts Malkovich flicking a match going, Anara.
I prefer the line where he breaks into the hangar where the plane is being held, and the guy goes to shoot him, and he turns around and he says, if you fire that gun, there are going to be like 12 angry prisoners after you. So he puts a silencer on there, and he goes, hooray for the sounds of fucking silence.
Yeah. That's a good one as well. Yeah, so I've forgotten that bit. That was just before it. Yeah, but then you've got, because that's when the car then gets sort of picked up by the hook on the plane and taken into the air and absolutely trashed. And Colin Meanham turns up just in time to see his car fall down and get completely fucked. So yes, there's that one. Few more facts. Nicolas Cage, going back to it. Personally, I think Nicolas Cage is better as the geeky kind of action hero. But he did all his own stunts in this movie to prove that he was, a bona fide action hero. And he did pretty well. There was some quite sort of, dangerous stunts in this. But yeah, this is the bit where they hook the car. There goes the car. And
it almost looks like it could fly through the air. That's where he's going. That looks like my car. I've got the same car. Sorry, I had to put that on. And they weren't Apaches; they were Cobras.
Fair enough.
Not to be an aircraft pedant. I'm not an aircraft pedant much.
You are an aircraft geek, and there is a fact here. You know what aircraft it is, right?
No, I can't remember what aircraft it is.
So it's a C-123, okay? So an old sort of Air Force plane that was used, and But interestingly, we were talking about the scene, and we showed a bit of the scene where it's like, put the Bernie back in a box. He is in an under compartment, which a C-123 does not have, because it's not a very big plane. It's a bit of a TARDIS in this movie because it's got lots of hidden compartments, and it's one big open space at the back of this plane. There's no sort of hidden under sort of, cargo bits or anything. It's just one big plane. But in this, it's a TARDIS. It's definitely bigger on the inside. So there's a plain geeky fact for you.
Okay. I couldn't remember what plane it was. I can remember I could draw it for you. I could draw it silhouette, but that's about it. Yeah. So you got that. You've got what's he got? The Malkovich character. The Malkovich character is the bad guy. You had lots of people sticking out. Had Vin Rhames in it, who was the Diamond Dog. I can't remember his name. I have to bloody
Diamond something.
Diamond Dog or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was Diamond Dog. Yeah, then you got Pinball, was played by James Dave Chappelle. You had Rachel Tichicon, who was in Total Recall, I think.
Yes.
You remember that one? Billy Bedlam, who was the arsehole who got killed after the bunny incident. Danny Trejo was in it.
Danny Trejo is interesting because there's some facts around him, because Danny Trejo, who I love, and as much as my opinion of The Flash has gone down, I loved Danny Trejo in The Flash. He was really good in it. But Danny Trejo, I said when he took on this role, he said, I didn't really have to do much acting. Because did you know that Danny Trejo in the 60s nearly was on death row? Very nearly ended up on death row. He went to prison for some dodgy crimes, but several of those crimes could have carried a death sentence. and it was only by a stroke of luck that he didn't. But there you go. Danny Trejo was at one point a hardened criminal. He kind of fucking looks it, but then when you see him in sort of some of these roles, he looks hard, but then he can play the softy quite well as well. I like Danny Trejo a lot, actually. Was it Machete? I love Machete. Machete's a fucking brilliant film. If you've never, that's one of his best. If you want to really kind of, it's not necessarily a fast food film. It's more of it's very tongue in cheek. But yeah, you should see the original Machete. Machete. It's a good film. It's a bit arty, but it's funny. So yes, that's my facts for Danny Trejo. There's a few faces in it, but yeah, I mean Malkovich and Dave Chappelle. I was surprised by Dave Chappelle because I've seen him in other things, but I've forgotten that he was in this. And he's not in it for very long. He doesn't last very long. But yes, that's kind of all of my facts that I've got around this. I spent quite a while trying to find things, but a lot of things weren't all that interesting.
Yeah, well,
but yes,
I think it was one of those you definitely file it alongside The Rock. It's one of those ones that does get files. If you were putting together films, clumping them together, you'd have that, The Rock, Bad Boys.
Well, this was the year. Bad Boys, yeah, the original.
Yeah,
this came out. This came out the year after The Rock, and that was our last film. We're going to go back to the sci-fi roots for our next one. Now, Nigel's watching. So Gareth doesn't know this yet, but I have decided on what we're going to do next. I will give you a little hint, Nige. It's that thing that they go through to go to another planet, Nige. You know, that gate that takes you to other stars. That's the next. Okay. That's the next Fast Film, and I've got shitload around that film. Oh yeah, that's my hint for the next one that we will be doing because it's kind of a fast food film, but it's probably one of my favorites. It's not quite Independence Day, but it's still one of my favorites. But yes, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to cover really with Con Air because. I mean, the ending is so unbelievably cheesy with that Leanne Rimes song playing. How can I? And he meets his daughter and he gives her the rabbit. I mean, seriously, I'm not lying, right? The amount of cheese in this, seriously, you could supply the Cheesecake Factory for a year. You could.
See, it's funny because I've got a feeling, that Nige has definitely seen this film just through some of the comments that he's been putting on the chat. So yes, it's like kind of he's using our old channel and nicked his car.
The artist formerly known as Gaming Facebook.
Yes. Unfortunately, I can't get to the new comments because there's a couple of other comments on there I can't see. But
he put this one, which yes, Nigel, that we mentioned this line. We mentioned this. It's one of my favorite. Why couldn't he just put the Bernie back in the box?
It is one of those. It's one of those films where you do it. It's quite a simple. It's a heist mixed with On the Run. Well, sorry, heist elements mixed with On the Run. Kind of that kind of chase film.
I'm just creasing up about that comment. I'm just remembering that podcast. Every time I hear that podcast, every bloody time. I watched it, as I said, right? I watched the film. I try and watch the film about a day or two before we do this so that I can refresh myself. And I haven't seen Con Air for a long time. But Duncan and Alex were sort of adamant that Con Air should be on there, and it is a very Alex film. It is a geezer's film. But I'd forgotten how much I did love this film, and how many times, every time I hear something about the bunny, it's like make a move or the bunny gets it. I'd forgotten that line had come from this film, and then you should have put the bunny back in the box. Anything around that bunny makes me giggle. And that was actually there is a fact around that. That was Cage's idea. That didn't come from the writers or the director. The whole bunny thing was Cage's idea. And this is the thing, right? I mean, Nick Cage gets a lot of fucking grief, especially in his like sort of latter movies. And yeah, okay, a lot of his latter movies haven't been good. But the thing I love about Nick Cage is he does what he fucking likes, and he doesn't give a shit what people think. He overacts. I mean, it is exquisite acting at times, especially in this film. I mean, by God, is that accent dodgy? But you can't help but love Cage. You know, and we mentioned this last week the other week in The Rock. Him being cast as Joe Exotic is fucking genius. I think it's just.
Yes.
I was totally not interested, right? Totally not interested in any other. Oh God, why you're just jumping on the bandwagon of of this? But the minute I heard that Cage was playing Joe Exotic, I was like, I mean, take my fucking money. I want to see that. I will watch that shit purely for Cage. It's like no. In fact, I think the more hammy his performance, the better. You see, I mean, I secretly love the National Treasure movies purely because it's Nick Cage. I love Nick Cage.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of our fast food movies, I think, are going to be Cage because at some point we're going to have to do Face Off as well. We're going to have to do Face Off because that is.
Yes.
I mean, I agree. Your brother suggested that, but that was on my list. That was on my list. I admit Con Air wasn't, but I'm glad that we put it on there because I'd forgotten how much I actually enjoyed this movie the first time around. It is a great escapist movie. It's got dodgy accents. It's got fucking ham-fisted acting. It's got big fucking explosions. It has got everything a fast food movie should have. And as I said at the beginning of this stream, it is probably it's certainly the most fast foody movie we've done so far. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. There's like a band of them. What I find really funny is that we usually talk about stuff and Nigel knows nothing about it. And looking at the comments, Nigel have known quite a bit about this one. First time. A Stargate joke example.
Hang on. I'm just going to check and make sure that the fucking sky hasn't changed fucking colours or something, or we got a blue moon. Hang on. Because Nigel knowing what the fuck we're talking about. Something in the universe is fucking gone a bit fucking dodgy.
But yeah, I love Con Air. You don't have to think. It's not Shakespeare or anything. I can just sit down, veg out, enjoy.
You've got very sort of like good guys versus bad guys. A bit like Independence Day. I mean, it's a bit more grown up. There's a bit more swearing in this film, but yes, the bad guys are the bad guys. Although Steve Buscemi, I mean, he comes out with a line where he says he killed a girl and wore her face as a mask as he drove down in a motorway. He says that line her head as a hat in that film, but then you kind of see him with that little girl, and it really does make you think, oh, something really bad is about to happen here, and it doesn't, because you don't see the little girl waving off the thing, and he's got the fucking Ken doll that she gave him,
the Barbie Ken doll.
Yeah, well, he has the Ken doll. He has the Ken doll in his hand.
Does he have the Ken doll? I'm sure he had the Barbie.
Yeah, no, it was the Ken doll. He had the Ken doll. She had the Barbie.
So my thing with what's his mission escaping at the end? Steve Buscemi's character Garland Green or Grayson or whatever his name was, escaping at the end was the only reason that he escaped at the end because unlike the other prisoners, he was the only one that was actually reformed.
Well, you see, several people have said that, and it's interesting that you say that. You could be right. Because arguably, again, I mean, this was made in '97, so this was prior to the Hannibal book and then Hannibal movie being made. And you could argue that in that Hannibal is slightly redeemed in that, but I still think it feels like a nod to Hannibal. But you could be right; he could be redeemed because he seems to be less bonkers by that point and seems to be getting good luck as well. So yes, no, I can see your point. I found several people sort of posing that argument that he was sort of redeemed, which I suppose he was. He didn't kill the little girl. The little girl waves him off, and he takes the cane. So yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, I can.
He doesn't.
Which kind of makes me.
He doesn't indulge either way, helping the good guys or the bad guys. He's just sitting there quite passively saying, "Well, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen." Like the plane's going to crash, and they're all freaking out, and he's singing. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Yeah, remember? I love that bit. Yes, no, he's
singing the whole world. Having a Barbie in that scene.
I'm sure it's a Ken doll. I
you might be right. It makes sense from a perspective that he would have the Ken doll and she would have the Barbie doll.
Funny enough, I have it. I will check. Talk amongst yourself.
Talk amongst ourselves. We've lost Nige, but yeah, it's. I loved it. It was good. I'm surprised John Cusack and the others didn't like it. I can understand if it's shit filming and not having a script, because certain actors really can't stand not having a script. They need the structure for it to work. So yes,
it's a Ken doll. It's a Ken doll. It's a Ken doll. He's holding the Ken doll. That's she had the Barbie. Nige, how the fuck do you know so much about this film? Sorry.
I can't see the comments. The comments are frozen on mine.
Nigel said, there you go. No, it's the Ken doll. I've just played it back because I've got the film downloaded. So I just played it back, and I had the extended edition as well because it's an extended version. Probably got like 2 minutes of extra footage in it. There's not much around it.
All right, let's wrap it up here. And
yes, I think we should. That was so. Yes, Con Air. I don't know if it's available for streaming, but
you can buy it on Amazon Prime at the moment and on Apple. It's not available in the UK for streaming for free, unfortunately.
Well, it is well worth a watch. If again another escapist film, it's kind of very much an action adventure film, as you probably guessed. But it's got its moments. It's got fucking brilliant lines in it. Yeah, it's a great film, and you have to watch it because Nigel knows about this film. And if you listen to our podcast, you know that Nigel knows fuck all about films. No offense, Nigel, but fucking for some reason the moon outside has turned blue, and Nigel knows probably more about this fucking film than we do.
So anyway. I think on that note, we should say goodbye.
Yes. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another one. And I think you know what it is, but we will talk about it then.
It's the big round thing, They go through.
Speaking of say, they go through this thing. It was called Stargate, but what was it called? What was that movie called, Nige? Anyway, on that note, bye bye.
Bye bye.